working?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Hi, I hope that video inspired you all. Isn't that a great thing? Thanks. We tried really hard. So today I'm going to talk about ideation. Ideation is taking the first steps to coming up with different ideas. So what's the point? Why am I teaching this lecture? You have ideas, hopefully. We're teaching this to talk about brainstorming as many ideas as you can and how to move those ideas towards a viable project. Oftentimes, especially as your first web project, you might not know how to move towards like a more viable and concrete idea, so we're going to try to walk through that process. And we'll be teaching a basic 3-step workflow. First, coming up with as many ideas as you can, moving towards something that is more viable, and then perhaps diverging into your final ideas, and finally converging into your hopefully working idea. So why are we doing this also is because we have milestone 0 coming up on Wednesday, which Aaron mentioned, where we will have you both give our first ideas that you guys have, which is a number of them. You'll be asked to give, I think, around 10. As such, we're going to kick off brainstorming now. So, step 1 is generate anything and everything. This is the time when people tell you there are no stupid questions and there are no stupid ideas. And during this step, you should totally actually go for anything. Why do we do this? So, according to this chart, we have plotted when the idea was created and how good the idea was. And as you can see, there's pretty much no correlation. Any idea you have at any time can be the best idea ever and be what you finally love and want to go with. So don't stop yourself or limit yourself from coming up with ideas. And on that note, create many rough ideas. At this stage, you probably should not get too attached to anything. Come up with as much as you can and make that as rough as you want, and then we're going to also talk about how to hone those ideas down in the later steps. And as Aaron mentioned before, truly new ideas are very difficult. We don't expect anyone to come up with the new original thing and become like next Facebook, drop out of MIT, don't drop out of school, kids. The best ideas come from creative blends of existing ideas. And let's talk about existing business models like Chipotle. Chipotle is a business model for several other restaurants nearby. For example, Saloniki, which is Chipotle but Greek. And we have Whole Heart Provisions, which is Chipotle but healthy. And Chipotle is just really Subway. So the model of build your own something for food is a distinct business model that can be reshaped for different things. And even so, Whole Heart Provisions, Saloniki, Chipotle all have different aesthetics, different views that are successful. They manage to build off of the same idea, but change themselves into something different as well. So we're going to do a creative exercise. This is kind of tacked in there because I just like this exercise, TBH. If you had to plant 4 trees equidistant from each other, how would you do it? If anyone has an idea or a solution, raise your hand. Yes?
I would put them right next to each
Cool. Okay, that works, I think. Question mark how closely you can actually plant them to each other, but possible. Solution given by 2009, which is a wonderful class as well, is a hill. You can plant them on varying sides, and oftentimes when you get this question, when I first got the question, I thought of it as a straight, flat plane. How do you do that? Basically, this is trying to challenge your idea of what your constraints are, how you think about things. Think outside the box or outside of the 2-dimensional space. So how do you start coming up with ideas? We're going to talk about a couple of different viewpoints that you can take to start beginning ideation. So the first one is you can start thinking about problems. What type of problem are you interested in? And you can come up with solutions or ideas based off of that problem. So staff has come up with some ideas that are going to go through this process with you. So we're going to come up with a couple of problems. Based off of this, we came up with accessibility as a problem and how to start something easily. Based off of that, we came up with ideas about different apps or websites that we could create based off of this. For example, accessibility to bathrooms, creating a color-friendly web. Are there sharks here? As for easy starts, maybe you want a study buddy matching group because you're a freshman here and you don't know how to find friends or people who actually know answers to solutions. How to begin to code, like this class, or beginning web app development. How to cook and survive over IAP, which I still don't know how to do. Or learning to type quickly because it'll make you feel more hackery. You can also think about different different audiences. Maybe you want to build something for a very specific group of people. Maybe you think about 90s gamers a lot. And maybe 90s gamers makes you think of maybe you could create something like a retro game for them. Or they really miss the idea of old icebreakers like Truth or Dare. You can also think about different features. If there's a feature you've seen in a video game or in another application that you really like, maybe you want to take that and try to build something off of it. So I really like leaderboards for some reason. Games or things that have leaderboards on them, you can have retro games with leaderboards. You can do a leaderboard of who did the most Truth or Dares. You can do leaderboards of GitHub project commits. If you're unfamiliar with GitHub, you will be soon. And you can also just think, does our theme maybe really inspire you? You press any key, just really helps you come up with a ton of ideas. And for us, we thought about the word key, and unlocking something, or locking something, and also mechanical keys. And based off of that, we came up with some idea of maybe crowdsourcing bathroom codes, because in Cafe Nero, they lock the bathroom, so I have to wait in line every time. Or managing your SSH keys, or randomly generating ASCII to be a passcode. As for mechanical keys, we thought about a text editor that's on your laptop that makes mechanical key clicks each time you click. Or logging your most pressed keys. So we came up with as many ideas as possible, and as you can tell, some of them are very vague and don't really make sense, like are there stars here? Another idea is like creating a mood board. You guys should not only be ideating for ideas of what your final product would be, but you can also come up with ideas of perhaps you really like a certain aesthetic. Design also will really matter and not just functionality, so this is also the time to think about that. And as you may see, I was very video game inspired, but your final product does not have to be a game of any sorts. The most important part in this step is don't judge. Don't judge your ideas, don't judge me for those ideas, don't judge yourself, don't judge your teammates, because you guys should work together. Maybe not make strife this early on. But try to come up with as much as you can, because this is when stupid ideas are good ideas. So, as part of this, we're going to have you guys go to this website, weblab.to/ideate, and you can post, and we're going to broadcast this, and so hopefully it doesn't become a mess, your ideas based off of just that quick thing. I want Froyo, so that's pretty good ones. At this point, you guys, I'm very up to the memes, so nice. There's some pretty good ideas out there. We got some actual app ideas. There's a game idea I saw, subtle Asian card game. So definitely keep these in mind. Come up with some more ideas as well. Please don't just come up, steal those, as now we've broadcasted them as well. Step 2. We came up with a lot of ideas, and you guys just came up with a bunch as well, although some of them were the same, about how to close doors and figure out which idea and which area of focus you want to head towards. So how do you choose an interesting idea? I posted some questions that I think are good questions to ask about if your idea is honed down enough and how to make it better. Are we excited about this app? Are you willing to spend the next 3 weeks coding very hard, maybe pulling a few all-nighters on this app idea? Should or can this be a web app? If this is going to be XKCD, that's not a web app and doesn't fill up the requirements that Aaron mentioned earlier. Is this idea overdone already? And on that note, we see a lot of these apps. We are going to discourage these if you want to be more competitive. We really want to see more creative solutions, but these are viable ideas for if you want to just learn web app development. We see a lot of free food finders discover something using a matchmaking app such as Tinder for study groups, or course planners. Just a note. So we're going to hone down a couple of ideas that we came up with and delete some of them. For example, managing SSH keys and randomly generating ASCII art already exists, so. We're not excited about colorblind friendly web maybe, and maybe we don't care about beginning to code, sorry. And study buddy matching is overdone already, so we would cross those ideas out for our team. And that leaves us with these. So how do we continue from here? So narrowing down windows of opportunity I mentioned briefly in step 2, what does that mean? This is kind of thinking about the ideas that you did like and why you did like them. For example, out of the ideas we have left, we kind of can see these bunches of ideas that we enjoyed. For example, there's crowdsourcing, are there sharks here? Crowdsourcing bathroom codes was something we enjoyed as a feature. It seems like there's a lot of gamification ideas we had, and also more quirky, weird tools. So maybe that's actually what we want to go towards as an idea in general. So step 3 is perhaps diverging from those ideas you had and transforming them into concrete solutions. So, how do you transform an idea to a concrete killer app? For example, some of those ideas were kind of loose and vague, and you don't really know how that become an app. So, questions you can ask yourself to make those ideas into concrete ideas is, can I sum up this idea in a single sentence? Does that sentence make sense? What are the killer features? What is the minimal viable product? So this was briefly brought up by Aaron Switzer, but what features are actually required to make the solution that we want? You might have a lot of ideas, and maybe not all of those need to actually exist in your final product. We're going to talk about that more later. How can we make this more interesting is also a question. Don't limit yourself still. So we're going to do that process with some of the ideas we came up with. So we'll start with, are there sharks here? Are there sharks here is indeed one sentence. It does kind of make sense, but that doesn't really mean anything for an application. So brainstorming from that, how do we change that into an app? We came up with some one-sentence liners based off of this initial question and how they might become into applications. For example, crowdsourcing a last sighting of a shark in this body of water. Or is this club safe? Maybe you thought sharks were people. Get Wikipedia tidbits about what sharks are local. Post gatherings to dance to the baby shark song. Find contact to a local expert who may know about sharks in this area. Or determine what local museums or aquariums have information about sharks. Maybe that's what this actually means to you. But maybe when you write these sentences, you realize you really don't care about this idea. And that's totally fine. So let's do a different idea. Crowdsourcing bathroom codes. So this kind of, at the inception, had a one-line sentence to it, which is sharing bathroom codes for local cafes, such as Cafe Nero. And maybe you want to expand this, and it's totally fine to diverge based off your current ideas, and something that easily goes along with this is share Wi-Fi and bathroom codes. So what features might go into this application? We brainstormed a couple. You maybe want to be able to view your location on a map, search for the location, submit code for a location, view the code submitted for that location. Maybe you want to endorse a code because maybe someone just put something on there that's not legit. Correct or update a code. Gain points for endorsed code, and maybe you want to gain ranks. But not all these features are required. For example, I don't really need to give people ranks for this application to work. So our minimal viable product, or MVP, is actually just being able to search for the location, being able to submit codes, and view those codes. And those things that maybe we want to build on the side, but after we have the MVP, then we can move towards more interesting features. But maybe we're not excited about that. That's fine. The point of that, though, is to show that we shouldn't be afraid to diverge from the initial inspiration at all. The best ideas inspire even better ones. So we're going to combine a couple ideas we had for the last step. So we're combining retro games to help you learn to type quickly with mechanical key clicks. So we came up based off of those 3 ideas, maybe like a typing retro dungeon game, which we summed up in one sentence as real-time text-based dungeon game. I'll explain that a little bit more. So we added a little bit to that to help you learn to type quickly by maybe you should compete to be the fastest one to run through a dungeon that only lets you type as your input. So some features, maybe we want art dungeons, ASCII art dungeons. You have to be able to type commands in real time, like run, run, run. Defeat monsters, explore the dungeon, collect treasure are all ideas. Having a leaderboard of times, so you can see who ran the fastest out of the dungeon. Make friends, maybe you want a level system, a game economy, which is all a lot of stuff for a game. And truly though, for our idea of trying to create a speedrun real-time text-based dungeon game, the MVP is having ASCII art dungeons, and maybe the truth is we only need 1 pre-built dungeon. We don't need to have procedurally generated dungeons. Being able to type the commands in real time and having a leaderboard. Maybe we really like this idea, so maybe we'll build that, maybe not. But at this point, the point is you should ID as many ideas as you can. For milestone 0, come up with all your ideas, pick a couple of your favorite and best ones, around 10, and submit them to us. Before we continue on ideation though, you should also check out the rules, because there are a couple of rules that do matter when you come up with your ideas. As I mentioned earlier, some apps or some websites don't fill in all the checkboxes to be a web app for this competition and class. So these are both rules for the contest and the class in general. For example, one of the basic requirements is that there's a personalized experience based on user accounts. Everyone should be able to log in, and it should show different things to different users. So that's something to keep in mind as you also think about ideas. So that's the end of the ideation portion. I'm going to walk us through setting up Git, and not an IDE, but a text editor, sorry. And we'll talk about setting up, if you have your laptop, if you don't, we'll walk you through that if you don't have either of those things already. And we'll be using that in the following lectures and tomorrow as well. So, if everybody can get out their laptop. Do you have a code editor or text editor? For example, VS Code, Sublime Text, Atom. If you do, you're set. You're good. If you don't, if you only have Notepad, please don't. I would not recommend Notepad. Google Docs also does not count for this case. So we're going to walk you through how to get VS Code, Visual Studio Code. It's super easy. If you want to get this, go to this website, weblab.to VS Code. I will also go through this process and download it because I just deleted it yesterday. If you go to the website, you'll see there's a nice green button that says download for your OS system. I have a Mac, so it's going to be download for Mac. If you click that, it should start downloading. You're like, yes, I will save this file. And I'm just going to save it to downloads. And I will replace it because I didn't delete the initial file, but that's fine. Okay, and if you open up your folder, and just simply unzip the file for VS Code. Wow, I now have VS Code. It finished downloading. If I click this, it will open up, double click, opens the application. It might be like, oh whoa, this was downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open this? The answer is yes. Oh, wow, you opened this from the internet. Boom. Visual Studio Code. In the case that you have a Mac like I do, and you want to move Visual Studio Code to the Applications folder, you'll also be able to see it from the Applications folder now. It should be as easy as that for all your other OS systems. If you have something like Linux, I'm assuming you already know how to download Linux. Do you have Git installed? According to answer, yes, if you have a Mac, this should come pre-built. Otherwise, you might need to get Git. If you don't know you have Git, you probably don't. If you have GitHub installed by any chance, you do have Git though. You can go to this website, weblab.to/git. And this will bring you to a page that also lets you download. You get to choose your OS system again. Very similar process. If you have trouble downloading any of these things, please reach out to us either on Piazza or in the break, because I don't talk enough. Or go to questions and we can find you and help you, for sure.